I've struggled to put into words what I've been trying to say when working on this video. I've written, revised, and completely scrapped several versions of this script now because I want to find the appropriate words to use when talking about one of my favorite video game franchises, its history, and the changes it's gone through over the course of 2 decades of existence. What started as an idea of a complete playthrough of the series followed by my opinion has spiraled into something completely different. While I still played through all the Halo games, I decided to take a route that involves the comparisons of past, present, and future of its entries. For the sake of simplicity, think of Halo Past to be the Bungie era, Halo's combat evolved through Reach, Halo Present involving the 343 games from Halo 4 to Infinite, and Halo Future serving as more of a conclusion, as the future is just speculation at this point. I'll cover the differences seen in the series' main protagonist Master Chief, what the companies brought to their respective entities, and how the community and gaming landscape has changed over the span of 2 decades. This one's going to be a little longer, so I'll jump right into it, and let Master Chief ask the question that's been lingering in my head for the better part of a year now.
What about Halo?
If you're watching this video, there's a good chance that you at some point enjoyed playing at least one of the Halo games. And there's a good chance that you have a core memory associated with your first time playing the games. Maybe you were a college kid when Combat Evolved first came out, getting loaded with your buddies while shooting each other in split screen. Or maybe you were a kid and your older brother showed you Halo 2 and you played through a legendary campaign together. Or maybe you didn't play the series until Infinite because hey, what the heck, the multiplayer is free and all your friends are playing it, so why not give it a shot? And whether it ends up being your favorite or not, the first Halo experience you have will always hold a special place in your heart. Mine comes from back when I was in middle school, I think maybe 6th or 7th grade. I went over to my aunt and uncle's house for Christmas with my dad's side of the family. My older cousin told me he had a game he wanted to show me, and I was excited to see. Now normally we played games like LEGO Star Wars or Mario Kart Double Dash, but as I was getting older I no longer had time for those childish games. For me, I moved on to games like Call of Duty and Battlefield, you know, things adults play, real wartime shit. And I was ready to impress my cousin with how mature I was playing mature rated games. We went to the basement. Instead of booting up the GameCube like we always had, he booted up the Xbox 360, along with his new copy of Halo 3. You know that feeling you get when you go through a certain sense, usually smell, taste, or sound, that takes you back to the exact moment of your childhood? Could be a perfume your mom wore before going to church, or the way your first grade classroom had that indescribable scent, but you know it when you smell it. Takes you right back to the classroom. I get that way with the Halo 3 main menu music. That classic Gregorian choir opening over the blue menu takes me back to that very basement on Christmas Eve all those years ago. Classic. This wasn't LEGO Star Wars. It felt bigger than that. We booted up a Forge match on Sandtrap to teach me the controls, and before I knew it, we had a full-on 1v1 game of Banshee versus Elephant, switching weapons on the tank until one of us took out the other in the Banshee, and then we'd switch. I had played games with vehicles before, but I remember the Banshee specifically was the coolest video game vehicle I had ever taken control of. A fast-moving, barrel-rolling, weapon-toggling, solo-piloted aircraft boosting around the map with absolute ease, pitted against a behemoth tank mounted with extra turrets, a mongoose underneath, and plenty of room to boot. Perfect to take cover or grab extra snipers, plasma pistols, and rocket launchers as we saw fit. The sheer amount of content in this game mode alone was only stifled by our creativity and the limitations of the Xbox 360 hardware. Halo always thrived at that. Yes, any game could create those prime memories, but Halo was so good at giving the player every tool you needed at your disposal. Weapons, vehicles, hell, even the physics engine could lead to some really wild scenarios. I was hooked, and I had only engaged in but a fraction of what the game had to offer. Any of these moments from any of these games could be the thing that sinks its claws into you, because more often than not, Halo was a new experience for you. Even the single-player solo experience didn't have much to rival it at the time. Side note, I'd really love to know what your core Halo memory is, whether it's Forge, LAN party, split screen, etc. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to read about your experience, whatever game it was. Anyways, with all my Christmas money and some minor convincing of my mom that I was mature enough for Halo, since, well, I had already played it and it's just aliens after all, I got my hands on a copy of my own. Now, I was a big campaign before multiplayer kind of guy at the time as well, so the first thing I wanted to do was boot up the single player mode, and that's where I first met. It's impressive that Master Chief is one of gaming's most iconic mascots, especially factoring in that he comes from a series that was locked behind Xbox exclusivity and held a mature rating during its most impactful releases. What about the Chief makes him so iconic? starts down at the inception of the character. He's made to be like any of us, hence why his face is never shown in the original 3 games. Anyone could play Halo and feel like they are under that green armor and behind that golden visor. During the development for Combat Evolved, the art team had the Chief going through multiple interactions with modifications including bulking up the armor and giving it that classic green color that, as lead developer Marcus Leto puts it, makes the Chief look more like a walking tank than a soldier. But like tanks, Master Chief is also technically intended to be expendable, hence his namesake coming from his rank, Master Chief Petty Officer, a naval rank specifically chosen by the Bungie team's supporting artist Robert McLeese because it connotates the highest non-commissioned rank where the character could still be considered expendable. Furthermore, shortening the nickname down to just Chief makes him seem more familiar, almost friendly, rather than always connotating a military rank such as names like Sergeant or General. Another important design choice was to make the Chief a man of few words. This presents him as a stoic, actions speak louder than words kind of soldier that starkly contrasts those around him, such as Sergeant Johnson, who exerts a more eccentric and gung-ho attitude on the battlefield. This was done intentionally to give Master Chief a similar vibe to that of the man with no name portrayed by Clint Eastwood in the old spaghetti western flicks of the 60s. There's not much personality to Master Chief, which is why it's so easy to see yourself under all that armor, because there's no alternative standout personalities to clash with our immersion, like a Duke Nukem or even a Sonic the Hedgehog, mascots that rely heavily into their personality. There's traits we see in him that we see in ourselves. We all want to do the right thing, and save humanity for that matter, and yet we all feel expendable, like just another soldier, just another person. While he's a super soldier, yes, he's still a soldier who's meant to follow orders, and yet he's not like any other soldiers we play in other games. What little personality and dialogue is given to us is just enough to portray the Chief for who he is. And of course, some praise needs to be given to Steve Downes for lending his voice to the iconic one-liners that Master Chief is known for.
Sir, finishing this Big Mac.
And of course, what is Master Chief without his AI companion Cortana, voiced by the talented Jen Taylor? Cortana, much like Sergeant Johnson, is the very opposite of Master Chief. She's talkative, snarky, and borderline emotional in moments of Master Chief's apathetic silences. Yet they play off each other so well. After all, Cortana spends most of her time in the back of Chief's helmet. In my opinion, the juxtaposition of the cold robotic man and the warm, fervent artificial intelligence complete each other's personalities in a special dichotomy that really allows each other to shine in their own ways. I don't think Master Chief would be the icon he is without his AI companion, who was initially there just to be a guide, much like Navi in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Nonetheless, Cortana pulls off the companion side just a little more tolerable.
Hey, listen!
The series is also home to other playable characters such as Spartan Locke in Halo 5, Noble Six in Halo Reach, the Rookie in ODST, and the Arbiter in Missions of Halo 2. All of them, of course, have their own great stories to tell, and even some of the more memorable side characters do as well too. But at the end of the day, the heart of the character interactions come from Master Chief and Cortana, and this was no accident. This was careful care and planning put into the design's interactions by Rosy retrospection is the psychological phenomenon in which our brain tends to view the past events in a positive light, whether or not we really felt that way. With how unreliable human memory is, we may not realize our brains tend to forget some of the details that would burden the experience as we remember it. It is very commonly lumped together with the concept of nostalgia. The main difference between the two generally comes down to how you view the future. For instance, rosy retrospection is also used as the idiom rose-tinted glasses, where the past is viewed fondly, but the present and future won't feel the same as the good old days, regardless on if it actually plays out that way or not. Nostalgia, on the other hand, usually just refers to the warm feeling of thinking about the good old days, usually stemming from childhood or adolescent experiences, but it can stem from any point of your life that you remember in a positive way. This also means that unlike rosy retrospection, you can also enjoy the present just the same as you did in those past memories. It's not a stretch to say that Halo has some very strong roots in our minds in regard to these concepts. After all, I did spend the first portion of this video, after the intro, talking about the core memory that drew me into the series to begin with. Nevertheless, I think it's crucial to understand our own cognitive biases when talking about a franchise that's been around for over 20 years. And it's natural for things to change over that long period of time. In a 9-year span from 2001 to 2010, Halo games were made by a relatively unknown company known as Bungie. And during that time, Bungie had amassed quite a number of fans as a studio because it seemed like they couldn't miss. with Halo Combat Evolved, 2, and 3 being regarded as the Golden Trilogy. ODST is regarded as a solid spin-off title, and Halo Reach serving as both a prequel to Halo Combat Evolved, but also a farewell to the studio, giving it their all on one last title. A victory lap to celebrate everything that they were able to accomplish and allow a new company to take their seat in the Halo throne. We'll talk about them later. So what exactly did Bungie do during its, no pun intended, legendary run with the Halo series? Simply put, they were the trendsetters. For starters, its controls were intuitive and made sense. Though not the first game to utilize the left stick for movement and the right stick for looking around, it definitely helped popularize this control style, especially coming off games where the controller looked like this, having a single stick to both move around and aim at the same time. Many other first-person shooters during this time also focused on a one-gun-at-a-time mechanic, and the player would have to access some sort of menu or hotbar in order to swap out different weapons or even to throw grenades in melee. Halo Combat Evolved utilized this guns, grenade, melee mindset as their golden triangle of attacking mechanics, giving the players 2 weapons to swap between and also allowing them to pick any weapon holding ammo off the floor. The developers also mapped both throwing grenades and melee to their own buttons to keep the action moving non-stop, and at any moment the player could move from any point on the golden triangle to another, and then back again smoothly and seamlessly. Now mind you, these are mechanics that are taken for granted while playing FPS titles nowadays, but games ranging from Call of Duty to PUBG can trace some version of their control scheme to Halo Combat Evolved. With those controls, Bungie gave us a way to navigate an enormous and beautiful world filled with sprawling fields and an incredibly detailed skybox. And look, I know this is 2001, but even I, all these years later, can see the care and intent in everything that's placed in the environments. To look up and see the Halo structure go all the way around from where you're standing is a little mind-boggling the first time you see it. Stepping off the Pillar of Autumn is a moment that I didn't think of much when I first played, because honestly I had put plenty of hours into open-world titles like Grand Theft Auto 5 and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. But reading different accounts of those who were actually there, I can only imagine what they felt is similar to the first time how I felt leaping off the Great Plateau. This wasn't a corridor shooter like Doom, but a vast world beckoning to be explored. And there's vehicles? Something about the way the warthogs dig into the terrain after bounding over a hill has a uniquely Halo feel to it. And yes, racing games have got plenty of driving physics down way before Halo, but this wasn't a racing game, but a goddamn first-person shooter. Driving felt heavy, yet fast, in an intertwined dance of controlled chaos. Mowing down enemies, whether in the driver's seat or turret gunner, just felt right. The enemies, the Alien Covenant, presented as the primary antagonists of the series, from grunts and jackals to elites and hunters, these soldiers were smart, as Bungie implemented a new artificial intelligence system to make each encounter feel different from the last, and no 2 playthroughs would end up playing through the same way. Elites would dive away from warthogs barreling at them at full speed. Jackals would sidestep away from grenades thrown their way. These types of features were not very commonplace, if seen at all. Also not commonplace was the grand story, told through the cutscenes between each mission, and though not perfect and definitely rivaled by Half-Life, Halo did a good job presenting its story and laying a foundation for the trilogy to come. Also, the flood reveal is pretty cool as the game changes into a borderline horror game halfway through the missions. And mind you, all of this is coming from Halo Combat Evolved alone, I'm talking about here. I haven't even begun to talk about Halo 2's online implementation, which carried Xbox Live very early in its infancy, or really how deep Halo 3's Forge mode could go, as well as its theater mode, to watch replays back, or even how Halo Reach's armor abilities could spice up gameplay, like armor locking protecting you from explosions. What I'm trying to get at is Bungie clearly cared about pushing the envelope forward with each new Halo game. It really came from the love of the game, and while Microsoft did start to see the studio as a money printing machine, watching the old documentaries during the game development, you can really tell how much heart was poured into these games. Bungie was notoriously an informal company. They didn't care about appeasing their corporate overlords. They just made something they were happy about, something they wanted to play themselves. They were trendsetters, spawning a multitude of copycats, with echoes of their early work rippling in the works of today. And they're still successful with the Destiny series. They clearly know how to make games and build a community. And build a community they did. Bungie could do no wrong and had an army of fanboys at their fingertips. They earned it. They didn't sell out their ideas to make a quick buck or change their formula between games. Everything was established for a reason and always circled back to Master Chief saving humanity, which is really all the fans wanted. Whatever the reason you played, whether it was online multiplayer, engaging campaigns, or creative sandbox with boundless freedoms, when a new Halo came out, you could bet that your local GameStop would be lined up around the corner, with people camping out before the store even opened, hoping to get their hands on the new Halo game before anyone else. This was the essence of the fabled midnight release, a long-lost relic of the mid-2000s and early 2010s gaming, with the popularity of physical discs being slowly phased out for the digital download. You can download the game a week in advance, play it the second the clock strikes midnight. No waiting outside in the cold, no fellow fans to share your excitement by your side. Witnessing clips of old midnight releases may seem odd if you were never around for them, but there's a palpable energy in these clips that you'll be hard-pressed to find this sort of energy outside of, say, sports arenas and concerts. Energy that was only matched online with hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube videos, sketches, and parodies of the franchise. Some companies even owed their entire existence to the popularity of Halo and the use of machine cinema called machinima. Red vs. Blue and Arby and the Chief were among the most popular series created by Rooster Teeth and Machinima respectively, and are very reminiscent of old vintage YouTube energy. The good old days. Everyone was on the same team, and Bungie wasn't out to extort every last penny out of their fans. They built an empire off of respect, the respect they earned as developers. But alas, all good things must come to an end, and after the release of Halo Reach, Bungie parted ways with Microsoft to work on their new game Destiny, and a new era was ushered in with a company made for the sole purpose of making Halo games. And from there, everything changed. There are large shoes to step into when assuming the control of the Halo franchise. Bungie was on to new things, and in their wake, a studio constructed with the sole purpose of making Halo games was created. 343 Industries. And hey, look, they're named after the... Nice. Things seemed promising. They had all the right tools to start, working with Bungie during some of Halo Reach's DLC, commissioning the Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition with Saber Interactive to dip their toes into the series, and a bulk of the team planning an entire Reclaimer trilogy to continue the story of the beloved Master Chief for the next 3 mainline installments. I don't envy the position many of the developers found themselves in when making Halo 4. I mean, how much could they really deviate from the Bungie style and formula before fans would get upset, while still injecting their own flair and flavor into the series? Should they try to just make Halo exactly the way Bungie did? Well, no, because then you know for certain your games won't be as good as the ones made by your predecessor. However, if you go completely rogue and do things your own way, then it won't feel like a Halo game. There has to be enough new qualities to make it unique and special to longtime fans, as well as attracting new fans. I'll start with the man himself. Master Chief was intentionally changed a bit to be more realized as a human in Halo 4, and right off the bat I could see why that could be considered controversial. Make Chief more relatable? I already relate to him. I am him. To their credit, 343 Industries pulled off a pretty good storyline between Chief and Cortana in Halo 4, making both character interactions stronger with each other. What I really have a problem with is this, and this, and this, which in its simplest form comes down to the way the characters are written and portrayed in 343 games. I liked Halo 4 at the release, but going onward, Halo 5 feels like an apology for the storylines that were not well received. And this happened again in Infinite, when in Halo 5, Chief was almost entirely shelved for a new Spartan, Jameson Locke, to take the forefront of the story. And look, well-established characters making non-typical decisions, like Chief going against UNSC commands and Cortana becoming evil, clever, in favor of new protagonists isn't completely a bad move. I feel like more people would have bought into Spartan Locke if he was just more interesting and didn't feel like a cop the whole time. We've seen games like Reach do well without Master Chief. I think it really comes down to how well your characters are written and fleshed out within the story. Also, there's clear indications that non-Master Chief missions can be done. Just look at the phenomenal Halo 2 story between the Arbiter and his missions, which I know was cause for some backlash at the time, but I think Bungie actually did a good job with his storyline. I do think it comes down to a writing issue, and not a fanboys are mad at no Master Chief issue. Nonetheless, Chief does get a bit of a return to form in Halo Infinite, which is the clear goal of the context of the game, once again basically retconning the last game to give a fresh start to the series, which for those keeping track at home is the third fresh start for Master Chief now. This design change was one of the alterations made by 343, but I think I'll just segue into talking about 343 as a whole right now. 343 was at the helm of a lot of major decisions, so that would obviously put them at the forefront of any and all criticisms due to those decisions. I already touched on the Master Chief changes, but there are some other things that I wanted to touch on here, like the art style changes of 4 and 5 that were not well received, and the general feel of the game going from a military sci-fi shooter to more of just a sci-fi shooter also takes a subtle but noticeable step in a different direction that many fans seem to not be in favor of. These aren't necessarily bad, but rather may be more ammunition to the fire against the likes of 343 Industries to make it sound worse than it actually is. What really seems to be at the forefront of a lot of 343 criticism is that they tend to grab at ideas that are trendy and popular within other big FPS titles like microtransactions and battle passes and dedicated sprint, to name some examples. As early as Halo 4, many fans were already complaining about the Call of Duty-ification that was taking place. And while I didn't really mind at the time, I can at least recognize why people would feel like that. Call of Duty was a mainstream bro game for the casuals, just like Madden. And to have a favorite series like Halo go from being copied to the copier, fans may have felt like Halo was going to lose its identity. This was further perpetuated in Halo 5 with a loot box style crate opening system, which was also popular in that era, as well as starting the dreaded microtransaction era in the series. Moreover, Halo 5's split-screen campaign was axed entirely in favor of a native 60 frames per second, probably because gaming was shifting away from couch gaming in favor of online play. 343 had to make the tough decisions on what to keep from the Bungie series and what to innovate in the series based on the gaming landscape changing around them. For the record, I actually really liked the grappling hook in Halo Infinite, and had fun using it in a co-op campaign that generally improved the way I felt about the gameplay from the first time I played through it solo. It was a good risk that paid off immensely in the core gameplay loop, and the general fun value that I had the second time I ran through the game, more so than something like Halo 5's Charge and Ground Pound, which I feel like are really just melee moves that get utilized less than just the regular melee move. Levitate was pretty solid though. Again, a lot of these changes aren't necessarily bad on their own, and microtransactions could even be seen as a way to support the developer post-release and allow the studio to keep working on the game after it's been released. But there is a stigma to microtransactions, especially nowadays in the post-Fortnite explosion gaming landscape we're currently in. And there is a Halo game that came out post-Fortnite boom, and borrowed quite a bit of those trends, that being of course Halo Infinite, from the free multiplayer paid campaign split, the free tier versus purchase tiered battle pass that refreshes every season, the seasons themselves that split the different eras of the game's lifespan, which is also commonly referred to as the live service game, and the colorful cosmetics that, though never explicitly stated, does tend to appeal more towards children and younger audiences in general. This also may make games feel out of touch with their original identity. I know there's a similar feel among some of the Call of Duty fans that feel like the game has gone from being a gritty, realistic war shooter to feeling just like a reskinned Fortnite with all the colorful skins and goofy emotes. I am a bit surprised they never added emotes, but real ones know you only ever needed the one true emote in Halo games. The purchasing of armor also may feel like a stab to the heart because in previous games like Halo 3 and Halo Reach, all the armor sets were fully unlockable through in-game challenges and ranking up. So the original trilogy core Halo audience who remembers what it was like will now feel as though they have the armor unlocks sealed behind a paywall. These changes have basically become evident of a split in the general community as a whole, as Halo opinions tend to run as strong as any other during online discussions, and boy are there discussions. To younger audiences, this may not be a big deal. Even to someone like me who's more in the middle of the OG and new fans, I don't remember the glory days of Halo 1 and 2. It's hard to know what I missed out on. I didn't play the clunky shooters that came before Halo revolutionized the FPS genre, except maybe a little GoldenEye. Every soldier I took control of was already able to sprint, I was in college during the Fortnite boom, so I already have a solid grasp on what that did for games. But there will always be a new segment of gamers who will just be familiar with games having seasons and battle passes because to them, that's all they've ever known. Things change over time. People who were 17 when Combat Evolved came out, which is the youngest age that you would have been allowed to buy it for yourself, are now in their 40s. If you were born the year Halo 2 came out, then congratulations, because in 2025, you'll officially be able to legally drink alcohol in the United States. And if you were born the same year that Halo 3 came out, guess what? You're also legally considered an adult in the United States. 343 has been in control of Halo for a long time now. Actually, technically longer than Bungie was in control of Halo. And they have made their own decisions, innovations, and contributions to the series. That's a long time, and has amassed several generations of fans. No longer is there a short shared history among fans spanning the first 3 titles. We're 6 mainline titles deep, and there are significant differences between the OG fans and the new ones. With gaps spanning this long, there will inherently be differences between fans. Whether it's fans claiming that created class systems make it feel too much like Call of Duty, or that the Halo show is the worst thing they ever laid eyes on, the internet has no shortage of personal opinions on Halo. And if you've been listening to mine for this long, then really, thank you. Maybe you like the newer Halo titles because it was your introduction to the series. There's naturally a lot of that. It may seem backwards to you that a highly trained Spartan super soldier can't sprint in a wartime scenario, but you will find people that are convinced that Halo should be a game without it. No ifs, ands, or buts, and no changing their mind. The problem is that the community is just too divided, with the old heads being stuck in their ways and the new fans not knowing how good it used to be. It's not like we see videos of people waiting at GameStop on the midnight release of Halo Infinite. That was already losing steam during the Xbox One era before effectively being stomped out by the pandemic in 2020. Rooster Teeth and Machinima don't even exist as their own companies anymore, and these were figurehead channels of the scene. The popular streamer Ninja was a longtime Halo player, but didn't receive true mainstream success until the Fortnite explosion. The truth is, the internet broadened, and Halo wasn't at the forefront of everyone's mind anymore. Content is more diluted now, and if things aren't turning a profit, they'll get shut down by whatever parent company had acquired their rights to exist. What exists now are just bitchy opinions, or a now niche but dedicated group of content creators who still enjoy making content out of their love for the series. Have we moved on from Halo, doomed to its own mortality and relegating it to a fond memory? Yet another reason why the good old days were better? I don't think I've had a gaming moment in Halo as impactful as the first time I played it. I've had these moments in other games, Pokemon Go in the summer of 2016, and playing Fortnite during college in early 2018. But it didn't really matter what the games were, as in both of those instances, it had more to do with the community of people coming together to enjoy something fun. I remember a crowd of people gathering in my downtown catching Pokemon. One guy even brought a ukulele. I remember going to a house party, hanging out with a group of guys in the living room playing Fortnite, just passing a controller around to anyone who wanted to take a crack at a victory royale. Those moments will live on in my mind the same way I can only imagine what playing Halo CE was like as a 19-year-old. I mean, I don't even really play Fortnite anymore. It was fun for the time, and if some friends ever get the itch, I'll gladly get back on the battle bus, but I'm no longer skipping class because I'm in the top 10 circle. Halo isn't new anymore either. It hasn't innovated the gaming landscape in well over a decade, yet has the staying power of a franchise like Pokemon because of its initial popularity. You want Halo to feel the way it used to? Get the boys over to the crib and play some damn split screen. Make those memories again. It's us. We're the ones who moved on. All those games still exist as they used to. There's even a collection of them bunched together. Maybe someday another midnight release will happen with the magic that the old ones used to have. I can't even imagine a midnight release I'd go to today. New Call of Duty? No. Grand Theft Auto 6? Maybe. Couldn't be bothered. The next Halo? Probably not. Did 343 really screw up the Halo franchise during the time with the series, or did Bungie happen to get out at the right time? Well, I'd like to give some benefit of the doubt to 343's management, as they did take over during a huge transitional time period during the late Xbox 360 and early Xbox One era of the console generation. However, Bungie has proved that they've been able to continue their mainstream successes into the Destiny games. I don't doubt that 343 was also under a lot more pressure from Microsoft than Bungie ever was to make a successful product, so who knows what was really going on behind closed doors. Halo Infinite was a step in the right direction, as it seemed like they finally listened to a lot of their community's outcries for art style and gameplay changes, and 343 as a company actually recently rebranded into Halo Studios, citing a shift in focus for what the expectations of the studio was, and even overhauling a lot of the management structure within the development of whatever's coming next. There's been a shift to the Unreal 5 engine, and it seems like the first game might be another Combat Evolved remake, and to their credit, what they've showed looks promising, but that remains to be seen in the final product, if it is the direction they're intending to go. It may give the team some needed chemistry building and familiarity with the new engine they're working on. I do hold a bit of optimism for the next steps of Halo, though I do carry some cautions with those hopes of another groundbreaking entry, as this is exactly what 343 did the first time around. It seems like people are also just going to be more pessimistic about technology and the gaming landscape as a whole these days. We don't really see those Halo Burger King meal deals anymore, and someone always has some recycled take about artificial intelligence. I would like to see what Halo Studios is capable of doing instead of falling into a rosy retrospection mindset about how things were just better a long time ago. Because even if it seems unlikely, any franchise can pull us all together, and I think that is a magic they would like to recapture.
Were it so easy.
Thanks for watching, sticking around. I know this was a bit of a long one. This is actually the video idea that made me want to start making videos in the first place, but I wanted to get a few of the earlier ones under my belt so I kind of knew what I was doing editing-wise. You know all the usual stuff. If you like the video, give it a like. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the style of content that you were listening to today. And let me know in the comments about core memories, the Halo that got you into the series, just that experience that warms your heart. That experience that no one can ever take away from you, no matter how many Halo games come out. I'd love to read about them. Until next time, peace out.
The rings will kill us all.